back again for another email psychology breakdown. So in these videos, I take an example of a real email that's gone out from a real brand and break down why I think it's working, why it's not, and some of the psychology behind why. This is the second video in a series that I'm doing about festive emails this year. We've already talked about the KFC fire log. In fact, you can kind of see it here on the mirror board already. And today we're going to talk about this next one, which is a Starbucks/Uber Eats offer for the holidays. So this is everything that we're going to cover with this Starbucks email. I'm going to leave this here for a second. If you want to take a screen grab, this is everything I'm going to cover in the next couple of minutes. So go ahead and feel free to do that. Great. So let's start with the subject line. It says Starbucks Pay It Forward goes digital. Pay It Forward is basically a thing that tends to happen in the festive period where people will be going through a Starbucks drive-through and one person will, get to the front and say, oh, okay, I'll pay for my coffee, but I also want to pay for the coffee of the person behind me. And then that person gets up to the drive-through window and says, oh, well, the person in front of you paid. Well, then that person is supposed to pay for the person behind them, and et cetera, et cetera. For me, before we get into the actual meat of the email, this is a problem with the subject line. This email is probably going out to people who are some combination of maybe like Starbucks loyalty and Uber Eats customers. They might just be Starbucks customers that they're trying to get into Uber Eats, but it's clearly a partnership between these two brands. I think a lot of people may have heard of this pay it forward thing, but not everybody's going to know what that language means. And it doesn't really do a great job of driving curiosity. I mean, to me, this is very much like a brand talking to itself. And I will say this is a tough challenge anyway, because what you're trying to do is describe this thing that happens that not everybody will use this particular verbiage or language about. It's kind of a difficult task, but I think if they had considered more curiosity-driven approaches for this subject line and tested some things in. So this is a message, but not copy, but they could have said something like free coffee for your friends and family. Would have to have a copywriter look at that. But the point is telling customers, hey, here's a way to get free coffee for your friends and family. That piques interest. That's curiosity driving. The next question I want to ask myself or ask Starbucks or Uber Eats is how? How do I get free coffee? Raise a question in the reader's mind to get them to click rather than using this inside brand language. Some of the psychology behind this, curiosity, obviously, but deprivation sensitivity. So recognizing a gap in knowledge, the filling of which offers relief. So if you've ever seen those BuzzFeed quizzes where they say 10 things you didn't know about Friends, number 6 will blow your mind. That's what they're doing. They're using deprivation sensitivity to say like, oh God, I have to know what number 6 is. Like, okay, so next let's talk about this headline, which is deliver it forward with Starbucks and Uber Eats. Okay, so now that you've just said pay it forward, and then on the inside you've said deliver it forward, I can see that they were maybe trying to make this a linear path, a thought process, right? But unfortunately, a lot of people are not going to sit here and consider, what does deliver it forward mean? What does pay it forward again? Now, some folks are going to get this right away, but that's going to be a very small number of folks. And you really have a limited time and attention in this email to explain the offer, which is kind of complicated and it doesn't necessarily directly benefit the customer. But using a headline or body copy with the message, so again, this is not copy. Is there anything better than free coffee? Starbucks and Uber Eats wants to help you give your friends and family a treat this year. Just order any Starbucks coffee on Uber Eats for delivery, and you'll get a $10 promo code to share via email. What I'm trying to do is use something called concrete language. And again, you would have a copywriter pull in some more concrete language, but this is just messaging. So being specific, definite, and vivid in language rather than vague in general. This has actually been shown to increase conversion by 4 to 10x. So it can be really powerful when you use very plain speak and not assuming that even your biggest brand fans are that into the brand language that you use. And the last thing I wanted to talk about here was just the CTA, which it's not really salient. It's hard to find because it's that white text with just like green on green. So there's no contrast in terms of the color of the button. It looks pretty from a design perspective, but I don't necessarily feel like it's doing a salience job so that it's easy for people to kind of click and go, oh, okay, I think Uber Eats is probably where this onward journey would take me. This order now, it's going to show up, but it's not going to be where people's visual attention is headed, especially because if you think about the way they're actually going to view and experience this email, it's not all at once. If you've ever worked in an agency or been a client, and I've been both, sending out emails like this, they'll show you the whole email. And if you saw the whole email, you would say, oh, okay, well, they're going to pick up, the little red in the bow, and they're going to see our, 2 logos together, and that's great. However, they're probably only going to see about halfway down, and then they might scroll a bit to see order now. And if you just look at the top half of this email, there's no contrast really. You want to think about visual hierarchy in something like this, and you want people to be able to look at it and say, oh, this is exactly what I need to do next. To me, if you just look at the top half of this email, I don't feel like it's doing that job. Thank you for joining me for another email psychology breakdown. If you're interested in learning more about using marketing psychology, behavioral science, and predictive AI to grow your business or improve your marketing, I have a free weekly newsletter. It's called Choice Hacking Ideas, and you can find it at choicehackingIdeas.com or just follow the link in the description below. That's it. I will see you guys in the next email psychology breakdown.